Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the 2023 Bellarmine Hall of Fame. My name is Steve Conley. I am the Alumni Director here at Bellarmine. I graduated in the class of 2004, and I'm thrilled to be your MC for the evening tonight. And thank you all for joining us on this special occasion as we celebrate three truly outstanding Bellarmine alumni who are distinguished through their commitment to service. Each of these honorees, in his own way, has followed the Ignatian call to go forth and set the world on fire. Now, please be aware that we do have professional photographers on hand for this event, and those photos will be sent out in the coming days. So I'd ask that you please refrain from using camera phones during the ceremony. We're also live streaming the event, and that recording will be available after the fact as well. And finally, the videos that will show up on the screen about each inductee during the ceremony, those will be publicly available on the Bellarmine Bells YouTube channel after the event. So please check those out. And now, before we induct this year's Hall of Fame members, I would like to acknowledge the people with us this evening who are previous inductees into the Bellarmine Hall of Fame, or its predecessor, the Bellarmine Athletic Hall of Fame. We have 201 individuals and 36 teams who are members of the Athletic Hall of Fame. And since 2017, we have inducted 20 individuals into the new Alumni Hall of Fame. So I'd invite you to please stand and be acknowledged as I read off your names. From the class of 1966, Larry Lauro. Longtime teacher, coach, counselor at Bellarmine. From the class of 1964, Vic Giacalone, a member of last year's Hall of Fame class. A Hall of Fame coach and a longtime faculty member, Bill Chambers. And another Hall of Fame coach and athletic director, Terry Ward. And finally, I believe we have some alumni here tonight who were members of Hall of Fame teams. Possibly there are some individuals here who played for the 1964 football team, or the 1965 football team, or the 1966 basketball team. If you are a member of any team that's been inducted, please do stand up and be acknowledged, and thank you for joining us tonight. There may have even been some years I left out, but thank you again. We are also privileged to have with us Bellarmine's new principal, Mr. Rod Jemison. Down in the back. And our honorees will be receiving their awards on stage this evening from Bellarmine's president and alumnus from the class of 1988, Mr. Chris Meyercourt. And so now, to begin our evening with a blessing, I'd like to invite up the superior of our Jesuit community here at Bellarmine, Father Mario Prieto.
Again, on behalf of the Jesuit community, the Whitehall community, I'd like to welcome you, and a special welcome from Father Gerald T. Waite, who was the recipient last year. Jerry's been having some health problems, so he wasn't able to join us, but he sends you his best. I join in the congratulations of our 23 Hall of Famers: Ed Watson, 65, Mike Thibault, 68, and Dinari Brown, 98. The very first prayer that I received when I enrolled at Loyola High School in Los Angeles in 1958, where my brother Pablo graduated in 51, and many of my family have attended, was the prayer for generosity. And it's the prayer that we say begin each week over the PA with our boys. And I can't think of a better prayer that we can pray that these gentlemen all live in their lives as men formed with others, sons of Ignatius and Robert Bellarmine. And it's the prayer for generosity. Lord, teach me to be generous. Teach me to serve you as you deserve, to give and not to count the cost, to fight and not to heed the wounds, to toil and not to seek for rest, to labor and not to ask for reward, except that of knowing that I do your holy will. St. Ignatius of Loyola, pray for us. St. Robert Bellarmine, pray for us. Thank you, and go Bells.
Thank you, Father Mario. If you had a chance when you got here on campus, you may have noticed a brand new building that is almost completed on the other side of O'Donnell Hall. That is a brand new Jesuit residence for our community here on campus. We're very excited that that will continue to be a reality here for many years to come. All right, it is now time to present the 2023 Hall of Fame honorees. Our class this year is a wonderful group of individuals. They come from different backgrounds, and they've taken very different paths in life, and they have different stories to tell, but all three have been tremendously successful in their chosen professions, and all three continue to serve as outstanding examples of what it means to be a man for and with others, through their commitment to giving back to their communities and sharing their knowledge and their gifts with others. So our first inductee tonight in the category of athletics is Mike Thibault. Mike's time as a student athlete here at Bellarmine was unremarkable, but he got into coaching at a young age, which led him on an incredible lifelong journey. He has reached the highest pinnacles of the coaching profession, and there are few alumni in the history of this school who can match the impact and the length of Mike's career in professional sports. It's impossible to condense all of that into one short video, but please enjoy this brief glimpse into Mike Thibault's basketball life.
Basketball legend John Wooden once said, "A good coach can change a game, but a great coach can change a life." Mike Thibault certainly embodies this message, but simply calling him a coach does not adequately encompass the many stops along the path of Mike's incredible basketball life and the impact he has had on the game. Mike would describe himself as a mediocre athlete during his time as a student at Bellarmine. In fact, he got cut from the basketball team in his junior year. An ankle injury in his senior season kept him off the court yet again, but the need for a freshman coach drew him back to the program. And so the long and decorated coaching career of Mike Thibault began when he was still a teenager.
Well, Mike as a coach is certainly extraordinary. And what made him great, he's a great teacher of the game. And he was just, was able to get the players in tuned in a very short period of time.
After Bellarmine, Mike went on to coach several teams at the high school and college level, including his alma mater of St. Martin's University. Eventually, he was recruited to be a scout for the Los Angeles Lakers under Hall of Famer Jerry West. So began a career in professional basketball that led Mike all over the globe, crossing paths with some of the greatest players and working with some of the most brilliant minds in the history of the sport. He was promoted to Director of Player Personnel in 1979, the same year the Lakers drafted a young Magic Johnson. Over the next 4 seasons in LA, Mike collected a pair of NBA championship rings. Then in 1982, he joined the Chicago Bulls as an assistant coach and the director of player personnel, just in time for the arrival of another basketball phenom by the name of Michael Jordan. After 4 years in Chicago, Mike decided to take on a head coach position, and he spent the next 8 seasons at the helm of the Omaha Racers of the Continental Basketball Association.
And I'll say this about Mike, he was an innovative coach. He was always thinking about what if. What if we did this? What if we did that? I remember when he was a scout with us in Seattle, now a play that everybody uses is called the angle pick and roll. Well, he was an innovator and say, what if we set this screen as an angle? And now everybody runs it.
He returned to the NBA for a stint as an assistant with the Milwaukee Bucks, and then in 2003, he chose to take his wealth of experience to the women's game and was hired as head coach of the WNBA's Connecticut Sun. Over the next 20 years, Mike made an indelible impact on professional women's basketball, serving as a mentor for countless players and coaches. He spent 10 seasons with the Sun, followed by 10 more with the Washington Mystics. In 2019, he led the Mystics to their first ever WNBA championship.
Mike Thibault had a huge impact in the WNBA, first with his time at coaching the Connecticut Sun, then with his time becoming a championship coach with the Washington Mystics, and now as a GM for that same Mystics franchise. People love playing for him. He brought a different kind of style and a way about him with all of his experience in men's professional basketball, bringing that to the women's game. A person who cared for us on the court, but also off the court.
And that's the beauty of Mike's coaching style, bringing together individual talents to succeed as one.
His role in my career, he helped me become a champion. I'd like to think we both helped each other, but he certainly helped me so much to grow as a player and a person. But the player side, he taught me how to play without the ball. Like, there's so many moments in a game where you don't have the ball, and I was always a scorer, ball in hand, all that. And he taught me selfless basketball. And then again, the importance of family first and creating a culture that you want to come and show up to work.
Team USA has also benefited from Mike's wisdom and creativity over the last 3 decades. He remains the only coach to win international gold medals in both men's and women's basketball.
Mike's role was just not as a coach in X's and O's and all the things that go on the court. He was very much about things off the court, always encouraging of his players to get involved in their community.
For Mike, basketball and family have always been tied together. He retired from coaching in 2022 with the most victories in the history of the WNBA. And he handed the head coach reins over to his son, Eric. On and off the court, Mike continues to live by lessons he learned as a child from his parents and during his time at Bellarmine. Conduct your life by treating people well and doing the right thing.
He's always supported us to use our voices and to speak out about anything that we're passionate about, and he's always had our back in those moments, even if they're not popular things that people, want to talk about, or if they're tough discussions. He says, own it, and we've got your back.
To me, what makes him more of a Hall of Fame coach, or really he's a Hall of Fame person, is the commitment and love he has for his family.
That's why you have a backup microphone. All right, please welcome to the Bellarmine Hall of Fame from the class of 1968, Mike Thibault.
Thank you. Well, we can all see what the coaching profession does to airlines. I usually try to speak without notes, but I didn't think I could do it tonight without a little bit of help, so you'll have to bear with me so I don't leave out a few things. First of all, thank you to my former classmates and the selection committee who nominated me and selected me for this wonderful honor. Particular congratulations to Dinari and Ed. I'm honored to be included in your company. I can't come close to matching what you have done to touch so many people in the Bay Area communities. You've carried on the Bellarmine legacy of service to others at the highest level, and I'm proud to be with you. When I first got the call from Steve about my selection and asked if I would be able to participate, I thought he called the wrong number. As was mentioned, if you took the dictionary definition, put a picture of a mediocre athlete, that little picture of me up there would probably be right next to it. When I entered Bellarmine, I was about 5'6" and 115 pounds. And like most every other freshman at Bellarmine, I lined up with 170 other players to try out for football. And I got in that line with 25 wide receivers. And about a week into that, I got a high-low tackle I don't remember. I was told I caught it. I don't know. I think they tried to make me feel good. And then I said, well, maybe I'll just be the kicker. And then they told me there's some guy, you know, he's a pretty good quarterback, Dan Pastorini, and he's going to be the kicker for the next 3 years. So football ended right about there. And so somehow I tried some other things, but I kept coming back to basketball. And, you know, explaining this career to people has been interesting. As the video pointed out, I got cut in my junior year. I know Tom Walker's here. You were the guy that beat me out, I think. And so I haven't really held it against you, but every once in a while it comes up. But I literally, you know, was devastated about it. And I came back out my senior year, and all I really wanted to do was just make the team. About a week or two into, about maybe halfway through the first practices before you get ready to have a season, I tore the ligaments in my ankle, optimistically and foolishly trying to get a rebound amongst guys like Andy Jurian and Dale McGowan, who were like 6'6". And my basketball career was about done. I had this statistical goal of being this 2020 player. No, it's not the triple-double you're thinking about now. My goal was to be that guy who made the team and played when you're up 20, down 20, and there's 20 seconds left to go. But it didn't work out that way. But luckily, what happened next was both fortuitous and accidental. I think Coach McClintock, who is here tonight, and Coach Ryerson, God rest his soul, were really just tired of me moping around for the next few weeks. And they said, would you like to come help coach the freshman B basketball team? And I don't even think I hesitated. I was like, yeah, I'll do that. Anything to be around. And then it got weirder. About halfway through the season, the head coach, Bob Kelly, had to step down for I think business reasons in his own job. And there I was at 17 years old, a few games into a coaching career that I didn't know was going to happen. And I think they went out and got one of the brothers to be the legal guardian of my team, so to speak. Had him sit on the bench, and I coached the rest of the season, and we won the championship. And then I thought my career was done. That was it, you know, there wasn't anything more. So I went off to college, and I initially majored in music, hoping to become a rock star like every other musician in the Bay Area in the 60s and 70s did. And it didn't take long to realize that wasn't a real secure business. Of course, I joined another one, as we see, that almost as secure, one where, you know, nobody ever gets fired. And the round orange ball re-entered my life. And it's something I couldn't have imagined. 2 years into college, I was offered a chance by a coach by the name of Tom Cassane, who recently passed, was the head coach at Archbishop Mitty High School, the rival, to come and work on his staff. And my career path changed for good. I transferred colleges, I switched my major to English, and I decided that my career path was to teach and coach at the high school level. There was never absolutely any thought at that time of being a college or professional coach. But during those next few years, both at Mitty and at other stops, I learned about scouting, about preparation, about myself a little bit. Coach Cassane at Mitty was a great mentor, taught me the little details of how to be a good coach. And then I went on to Santa Cruz High and Cabrillo Junior College, and then St. Martin's College up in Washington State. And along the way, like a lot of young coaches, I worked countless number of basketball camps in the summer, sometimes 8-10 weeks in a row. And I regularly worked Coach Wooden's camp, Rick Berry's camp, and Jerry West camp. And that's where I got to know those staffs, and Jerry West's staff would come out to the camp, and that led to my NBA career. One of my summer camp roommates, Len Stevens, who coached at Jesuit High School in Sacramento, became the head coach at St. Martin's University, and he took me with him as one of his assistants. And so while I was at St. Martin's, we didn't have a lot of money to spend on, we weren't out recruiting every night, so I had a lot of free nights where I could do something else. And fortunately, because of the connection I had with Jerry West and his staff, St. Martin's was about halfway between Seattle and Portland. So when East Coast teams came west, they used to go to those two cities before they came to Golden State or LA. So I was the perfect person to go and scout and be a opponent scout while I was there. And it just worked out. When Paul Westhead took over as the coach, I became their primary West Coast scout. When we won the championship in 79-80 when Magic was a rookie. And then I got hired that summer as the assistant coach and director of player personnel. And in those days, nowadays you look at an NBA staff, college staff, and you see like as many coaches out there as there are players. You had 2 assistants, we did everything. And so, although it was a lot of work, I learned how to do the different details that needed to be successful, both not only as an assistant coach, but down the road as a head coach, and how to start putting together a program. And the only thing I'll say about those years, if any of you have been watching Winning Time on HBO, that's a crock. It's not even close. And I finally saw that they had an episode a week ago that I was in it. Highly disappointing. Highly disappointing. First of all, I wouldn't pick that actor. But nothing about the series was real about what was going on. How people were portrayed wasn't accurate. But as coaches, we learned how to put together the right plan. But you had to remember, too, that at that level, the players are the stars, and you have to figure out how to make that work. We won the championship again in '82, and then I was offered the same position with good raise to go help rebuild the really bad Chicago Bulls. And I also got married that summer to my very best friend, my wife Nancy, who's here tonight. 41 years this past week. And the challenge in Chicago intrigued me, so we decided to take the offer, and we embarked on a new adventure. LA was the safe job, but what I was finding out about myself is that Chicago opportunity was a chance to kind of make my own path. And I found out as I went along, I kind of like reclamation projects too. And so I got to play an instrumental part in building that roster that eventually won all those championships with Jordan and Pippen and those guys. I didn't get to see the end of it because ownership changed, new people came in, and some of us were out. But it was an important step for me to kind of go and start with a team that was at the bottom and try to build something that meant something. The next stop for me in particular was probably one of the game changers for me. There was a brand new team in the CBA, which is now the G League, in Omaha, and I was there for 8 years, and I used those 8 years as a coaching laboratory. You're not playing in front of 15, 20,000, you're playing in front of 3,000 or 4,000, and I could use that to experiment and try things. I learned about who I wanted to be, about my personality, my non-negotiables, my style of play, and I could get away with it. I could do it. If it didn't work, I tried something else. And it allowed me to grow. Again, a small staff, had to learn to do different things. I was the president of the team at one time, so I learned the business part. But it started expanding my horizons about going into the community and letting our players be a part of the community, and that would pay off much later in my career. It was also a great time for Nancy and I to be starting our family, and we were able to learn about ourselves off the court as well. Eventually that team folded, as several teams in those leagues did over the course of time, and after a 5-year stretch with Seattle and Milwaukee as an assistant coach, we found out our life was about to take a big turn. We had a big decision to make that probably ended up setting the course for the second half of my career, probably determining whatever my legacy in basketball ultimately is. In the fall of 2002, a WNBA team in Connecticut offered me the position as the head coach. I knew that in my career in the NBA, I was probably destined to always be a career assistant coach. The idea of going back to being the person in charge of a new team was appealing, much like the positive experience I had had in Omaha. My daughter was going into the 7th grade and just beginning to play AAU basketball. She kept reminding me that girls like her needed and deserved to be coached on the same level as boys. I had coaching friends in the WNBA who said I would enjoy it, and they had found happiness. I said, why couldn't I find happiness by going in a new direction? So we decided to change in that orange solid ball for one with orange and white stripes. And we made the jump, figuring if it didn't work out, you could always go back to the NBA. Well, here I am 21 years later, 4 or 5 offers to go back, and I'm still in the WNBA. Much like those jobs in Chicago and Omaha, my NBA and WNBA teams that I inherited were reclamation projects at the bottom and needed a jolt. And I realized I seemed to gravitate toward that. And I really relished the building part of the game. So as a result, the NBA has been a way greater and far more rewarding experience than we could have imagined. Between the wonderful players that I've coached, the coaching staffs that I've worked with, and the countless friends and acquaintances we've made throughout this journey, I can't imagine having made any choice that would have been better. My family life became more whole. I didn't know it was going to be that way. Because we play in the summer, I got a much greater opportunity to watch my children grow up. And we were there during their school year. And in the summer, they had a choice of whether they wanted to be around my team and be a part of that experience. It's probably no accident that both of my children are now head coaches. My daughter, Carly, at Fairfield University, and my son, Eric, replaced me in Washington. And it's been very, very rewarding to watch what they have done and how they've grown up and matured in this coaching profession. Besides the on-court experience of competing and winning at the highest level, I think one of the things I'm most proud of in both Connecticut and Washington is that we have tried to grow the game of women's basketball at every opportunity. And one of my biggest goals, and I think this is the crux of why I can look back on my career and feel like I'm being complete, has been to help these great women have experiences outside the game that would help them grow in their adult lives. Things like community involvement, social justice, as you saw in the film, political awareness, and then setting them up with business experiences to help prepare them for their post-playing careers. Both Connecticut and Washington, we were able to build a culture based on family, and an atmosphere was formed by the things that I learned and loved by how I was raised and educated. I'm the oldest of 9 children, and I'm proud this evening to share this with my 3 siblings, Larry, Barbara, and Jane, who are here, as well as their spouses and some of their children, and my aunt and uncle. Thank you, Joe, and Aileen, and Mary Lou, and Tom, and Tyler, and Molly for being a part of this. Special thank you to my Bellarmine partner in crime, Jim Perez, for coming tonight. And I know that there are a whole lot of other people here that I didn't know were going to be here who have touched my life. Coach McClintock, I cannot tell you how much what you did for me, you probably didn't even know it at the time, meant for me. To former classmates who, made this happen. I have some other friends here tonight that I had no idea were coming. Don and Jim, and boy, and there's others here. And the last part of this, both of my parents have passed away, and they are missed by all of us. They set a daily tone how to live a life of sacrifice for others. They definitely had to sacrifice for me to attend Bellarmine, both financially and logistically, because it was important for me to have the opportunity to come here and have this wonderful education. I missed being able to share some of the milestones with them. My mom went from knowing not a lot about the game to perusing box scores daily. My dad went from being not sure that this was a secure enough profession for me to go into, to giving me tips without seeing the previous night's game, as well as reading out officials courtside during the WNBA finals. Between my parents and my family and the education that I received here at Bellarmine, the golden rule has become the centering point for me. Those values were constantly reinforced in our family, and I am hoping that I have tried to live up to trying to treat others, my players, my staff, my family, as I would want to be treated. No matter one's background, religion, race, ideology, if you treat others like you would like to be treated, everything else seems to fall in place, both on and off the basketball court. Most of all, as I mentioned at the start, I've been fortunate enough to have the love of my life, Nancy, with me on this wonderful and amazing journey. And she's seen it all, from winning championships to a team folding, or your husband being fired as an assistant when the head coach lets go, or your husband being fired when he goes 26-8, and it doesn't make any sense, or sharing an Olympic gold moment, or most lately trying to help me figure out when the best time to walk away from all of this is. She has an amazing gift to connect with almost everyone she meets. She's clearly my better half, and no mistake about who might be the most competitive member of the family. To our kids, Eric and his wife Drea, and our new grandson Dean, and my daughter Carly, I'm sorry you couldn't be here, but basketball is calling as we speak. Eric is coaching a game this moment against the top team in our league, and Carly is getting her college team back ready for the start of the new school year. But it's been a joy and some angst watching them early in their coaching careers. It's been fun being here today too. I visited here about 5 or 6 years ago. I'd never been in the new gym since I've been here. For those of you, there's only a few of us here who can talk about the old gym, but if you watched Hoosiers, that was the old gym. The red dial going backwards the last minute, the double half-court line, the stage at the end, that was our practice. And I tried to explain that to my players. They looked at me like, that doesn't exist. And lastly, I just want to say this, a round ball. Think about this, a round ball. And I just shake my head sometimes. Who would have thought that a round ball could bring such happiness to one person who started out playing on the outdoor courts, on the chain link nets at Sacred Heart School in Saratoga. A ball that has brought such great joy, passion to millions of fans around the world. It's a ball that's helped pay the bills. It's a ball that has allowed us to travel the world, to meet and make new friends, connect us constantly to new opportunities, goals, and adventures. It's a ball that has allowed me to represent my country in front of the rest of the world. A ball that led a 17-year-old kid from Bellarmine back here 55 years later in front of you tonight. So I'm so thankful for this amazing journey. Thank you all for this honor and the pleasure of being in your company. God bless you.
Congratulations, Mike. We'll all be rooting for the Mystics in the playoffs this year. And if you ever feel like going back to the college game, my Loyola Marymount Lions have been struggling for quite a while now, so we would all appreciate it. Speaking of the Lions, our next honoree is a fellow LMU graduate. Our second Hall of Famer tonight is Dinari Brown. Dinari followed his passion for the culinary arts and went on to become a chef. He spent many years in fine dining and quickly worked his way up to positions of leadership. And eventually he took on the huge task of heading up all food service at Levi Stadium. But as Dinari witnessed the massive amount of food waste associated with large-scale dining, along with the tremendous level of need in our community, he was called to give back, and that led Dinari to Hunger at Home. And when COVID hit, Dinari stepped up. And over the last 5+ years, he's helped feed thousands of families in the Bay Area. So I hope you enjoy this brief look into Dinari's journey.
Here in Silicon Valley, where abundance and scarcity coexist, Dinari Brown finds purpose in the act of cooking and the art of serving others. Since he was young, Dinari has always had a passion and gift for cooking.
The gumbo that I make, Dinari gave me a secret ingredient. My gumbo is my #1 seller to date, but it's a secret ingredient that Dinari gave me. Yeah, Dinari, nobody else knows about it, but that's what he represents. He represents everybody doing the best job that they can.
Fueled by creativity and a tireless work ethic, Dinari worked his way up in the culinary world, eventually becoming a renowned executive chef for high-end restaurants, hotels, and resorts that cater to an affluent, selective clientele. But accolades and success ultimately did not satisfy what Dinari was hungry for. During the 4 years he oversaw all the food service at Levi Stadium, he became increasingly unsettled by the vast amount of food being wasted or thrown out on a daily basis.
There's a general feeling in hospitality, you don't want to run out of food, so you always make too much. It's unbelievable when you're cooking for 5,000, 10,000, at the stadium, 65,000 people. What are they going to eat? How much are they going to eat? Trying to think of the size of one of our walk-ins. If you could imagine an industrial size refrigerator, 6 feet tall, and there might be 40 of those filled with food at the end of a game. It's a lot of food. Anybody who sees it immediately is struck to say, wow, you're going to throw all that away? And that wasn't acceptable. There always had to be a way to do it.
Dinari started reaching out to local organizations that distribute food to those in need. At the end of any given day at the stadium, there could be up to 2 tons of food going to waste. Dinari knew if he could donate even just a fraction of that, he could help feed hundreds of families experiencing hunger or food insecurity. It takes both creativity and compassion to take discarded ingredients and transform them into delicious meals that offer sustenance and hope.
I have to say that Dinari is the key individual that allowed me to learn about nonprofit and giving back.
Reminded of the profound difference one meal can make, Dinari found a new purpose in cooking. In 2018, Dinari became the Chief Operations Officer for Hunger at Home and began devoting all his energy toward reducing food waste and filling the bellies of the most vulnerable and underserved members of the community.
I had no idea the magnitude of Hunger at Home, the number of families they're feeding, the number of families that are without, and all geographics from all over the Bay Area. I remember there was like probably 2,000 to 3,000 cars lined up. He's calm, Dinari's just really laid back. He's like, yeah, okay, we got this. He's that person that makes everybody do what they do and respect it because we respect Dinari. And he respects everybody that works with him.
It feels good when you finish a day and you're just absolutely exhausted. And you know that you fed 700 people today. 700 families' lives were changed. There's never been a better feeling than just knowing that you've made a direct impact in somebody's life.
The pandemic pushed the level of need in the Bay Area to new heights. Restaurants were shutting down. Dinari's former colleagues and employees in the food service industry were without work.
We were doing food for 700 families, doing individual meals that went to certain places, groceries. We were giving out 20 pounds of groceries, 20 pounds of veggies, and 14 meals a week to these families. One of our favorite moments, Dinari and I were showing a representative from the city what we do, and we pulled out one of our meals, and it was a a Thai curry over rice and just a beautiful, 1.5 pound meal. And the look on his face when we put it in his hands, he was like, no, open it up, smell it. This is good food. And Dinari is very strong about, we don't serve anything that we wouldn't eat ourselves. We respect the people that we're taking care of. And we made that happen.
Dinari's kitchen became a haven of transformation, where food and goods are symbols of resilience and resourcefulness. To date, Hunger at Home has served over 11 million meals throughout the Bay Area. In 2021, Dinari expanded the business to launch a social enterprise catering company called Full Circle Catering.
There may be an event that Hunger at Home is catering, and Dinari has got everything down to a T. He's got a great staff. And why does he have a good staff? Because he's a good leader. People want to work for Dinari. They want to work with him.
For Dinari, each meal is a testament to the possibility of change. One more small step towards a more sustainable and equitable world.
Please welcome to the Bellarmine Hall of Fame from the class of 1998, Dinari Brown.
All right. Video got me in motion. So, good evening, everyone, and thank you all for coming. I'll start by expressing my honor. It's an honor to be recognized like this by Bellarmine. Congratulations to Mike and Edward as well, of course, the other inductees tonight. And all the previous Hunger at Home inductees as well, the Hall of Fame inductees. Congratulations to all of you. It's just a wonderful group to be part of, and I appreciate that. Next, I'd like to thank my parents who came today. Dr. Benny Brown, Connie Brown, and just thank you for giving my sister Rainey and I the opportunity for such an amazing education from the time we were young all the way through college. They've just provided such a great upbringing for me, and I appreciate that so much. So, round of applause for them. For me, when I started at Bellarmine, it was kind of like it is for my 8-year-old beautiful daughter, Layla. It was kind of like most 8-year-olds when you have to eat your least favorite green vegetables. By the way, I like food references because I'm a chef at heart. So here they come. Having to be surrounded by a campus full of male classmates, it's kind of like eating raw wheatgrass. Yeah. Going through the liturgy in the gym is kind of like eating some mashed, unseasoned lima beans. Community service hours, all the time. It's like spooning down pureed celery soup. Apologies, some of you might like those foods or those activities. When I was in high school, I didn't. I do understand and appreciate them now. Not like I did back then. It wasn't the most fun time for a young man to be in that situation, but I learned over the years. And now I'm very appreciative of everything that I went through and all the experiences that I had. The many experiences that I had at Bellarmine, some were very positive, some weren't so positive. Some of the things I tried to avoid at that time, but couldn't avoid, and they made me the man that I am today. Stronger, smarter. In case you guys don't know, Bellarmine was the very first high school in California. And it's been an honor to be part of such a prestigious institution. To put it in perspective, 12 years after Bellarmine was founded was Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. A few years later, the slaves were freed, my ancestors. So that's how long Bellarmine's been. Another note, Bellarmine's produced some amazing alumni. Besides the wonderful individuals who are here today, we have 3 mayors of San Jose, including the previous and current mayors, Sam Ricardo and Matt Mahan. Which, by the way, both of them support Hunger at Home. Thank you very much. A side note, Mayor Mahan and I actually were at Bellarmine at the same time. He was a freshman while I was a senior. I don't think you remember. Also notable, not 1 or 2, but 6 Olympic gold medalists, 5 Super Bowl champions, 3 World Series champions, Academy Award winners, Pulitzer Prize winners, dozens of professional athletes from all different sports, and many more like me. While I was attending Bellarmine, the world was a tumultuous place, but inspiring. During my years at Bellarmine, what was happening in the world? Some great things, some terrible things, right? The brutal segregation known as apartheid in South Africa finally came to an official end when I was a freshman in 1994. I actually had the privilege of meeting and shaking the fragile but still powerful hand of the Nobel Peace Prize and Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient, Nelson Mandela. He came to the Oakland Coliseum on his liberation tour after he was freed in 1990. And I actually got to shake his hand. Probably the greatest and most famous person I've ever met. So what else was happening? A lot of notable things happened when I was in Bellarmine. This is kind of funny. When I was a freshman, I went to my first scorching hot, 120-degree mixer. In the gym right here at Bellarmine, still standing. It was with the all-girls school, Notre Dame. That was quite the experience as a freshman. I think I was maybe 13, 14 years old. Oh yeah, thanks Mom for dropping me off and picking me up. The other crazy things that were happening in the world, of course, Jeff Bezos was just starting Amazon. I probably didn't get my first package delivered until 2005, but he was working away at it. A lot of stuff was going on. In 1996, at the young age of 18 years old, basketball superstar by the name of Kobe Bryant joined the LA Lakers. Yeah. Rest in peace, Black Mamba. So a lot of stuff is going on. The other guy who we saw flying in the air up on the screen a little earlier, Michael Jordan, had just come out of retirement to win 3 back-to-back championships. I always kid with my son, I say, he's the greatest of all time, not LeBron, from my generation. Right? I kid, LeBron's good too. So thanks for indulging me for that little walk down. Ultimately, all these things were happening at the same time, and they were interlaced with my memories here at Bellarmine. My time at the SAC, which if you guys don't know, we call it the Student Activity Center. It's where everybody wanted to be. I was there playing cards, or I was having ASB meetings with Coach Cunningham. He had more energy than anyone I've ever known. My time with Father Drindle, who was my math teacher. He loved to call us all donkeys. So I spent time in that class dodging spitballs from my classmates. That was a fun time. My time running around the track thousands of times with Coach Burke and Coach Ward, who's here today. That was fun. My time learning counterculture literature with my freshman football coach, Coach Benson. My time standing up every time I wanted to speak in history class with Coach Amarius, the tallest coach and the tallest teacher I ever had. But seriously, my time here was meaningful, unique, and inspiring. My days here molded me to be the man for others that I am today. So after 25 years, it's great to be back at Bellarmine the first time. Actually, haven't set foot on the campus since I graduated. I've been a little busy. I want to thank everyone who came out today that I really wasn't expecting. I appreciate your support so much. Thank you all. Special thanks to Michael Kessler and Sandra Daly for doing a great job in that video. Thank you so much. Thanks to Steve Connolly and Bellarmine Alumni Association for inducting me into the Hall of Fame. Very appreciative. Thanks to Lucia, my partner in life, aka my wife, for always supporting me and being amazing and bringing 3 wonderful children into my life. Layla, Ezekiel, and Cassandra. I love you always. Thank you. And thanks to everybody that made it happen. A lot of work went into me becoming who I am. Every instructor, every experience. Bellarmine is an amazing place, which once again I said I wasn't keen about being here when I was here, but when I left, it was a much different perspective. And for that, I'm forever appreciative. So, thanks to all who made it happen. Thank you. Good night.
Congratulations, Dinari. I'll add that Bellarmine has worked with Hungry at Home's catering or Full Circle Catering a number of times for events. The food is fantastic, highly recommend, 10 out of 10. And now we move on to our third and final inductee of the evening, Mr. Ed Watson. I want to give a shout out to the members of the class of 1965 who nominated Ed. There were a lot of you. And it was immediately clear from reading the nominations and then learning more about Ed that he is a truly special individual. Ed took to heart the lessons that he learned from his mother, from his childhood at OLA, and from the Jesuits at Bellarmine. And he has lived out a life of service, getting involved in his community and using his gifts and the fruits of his labor to give back, to provide opportunities for others, and to help those in need. So now, please enjoy this video about Ed Watson.
You and I are here. We're here in front of the statue of Mother Mary. Couldn't be any better than that. And we're here to honor Ed Watson being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Boy, you are just on fire.
It doesn't get any better than that, does it? Let me start off by saying this. I could not think of another individual who is more deserving than Ed to be inducted into the Bellarmine Hall of Fame. My name is Frank Tialdi. I graduated in 1965 with Ed Watson.
And my name is Rich Keith, and I graduated in 1965 with Ed Watson.
Both Ed, Bob Long, and I have known each other for 70 years. We attended grammar school, high school, and college together. The perfect trifecta.
We're best friends. We met when we were 4 years old. Our dads worked together at the shipyard, and I'd gone over to his house. But it was really months later when we both went to kindergarten at Our Lady of Angels in Burlingame that our relationship really began.
The best friendships are not defined in years, but by impact. And those who know Ed Watson would agree that throughout his life, he has made a tremendous impact.
He has done so many wonderful things for others, yet he never looks for any kind of recognition.
Ed went from Bellarmine to the University of San Francisco and began his career as a certified public accountant. After graduating from Berkeley School of Law in 1972, he joined his first firm. For the past 50 years, Ed has served as a trusted attorney in the Bay Area and been an advisor to countless families and organizations. Over 5 decades, he has distinguished himself in the practice of law through an outstanding work ethic and a commitment to treating people with kindness and respect.
I've often said that if I had to trust anyone with the lives of my family, it would be Ed Watson. I've always introduced Ed and referred to Ed as the smartest and kindest man I know. And that is the truth.
Ed and his late wife Liz led their lives in service of others, becoming deeply involved with local nonprofits, community organizations, religious groups, and their lifelong parish of Our Lady of Angels.
Liz actually started a preschool at Our Lady of Angels, and Ed, of course, was the business and accountancy behind that. Of course, that was one time that Liz got a little upset with Ed. He'd just done their tax return for the preschool, and he had made the mistake of telling Liz that she was earning $1.25 an hour.
In 2005, Ed was awarded the prestigious Ozanam Service Medallion by the St. Vincent de Paul Society for demonstrating superlative service to others without seeking personal recognition or favor.
When I talked with him the day after he heard about the nomination, he says, "I don't deserve this." I said,
Right.
"Ed, for God's sakes, if anybody deserves it, you do." And I was kind of like a blithering idiot. I kept on talking and talking and talking, but it was like he needs to be acknowledged. And his wife, Liz, she's here with us.
There's no doubt in my mind that the very moment that Ed receives that award, his induction, that in heart, mind, and spirit, that Liz will be right next to him.
Liz was not the only strong woman in his life. Ed's mother raised all her children with faith and purpose.
Ed has always shown love, respect, dignity, and compassion for others from all walks of life throughout his entire life.
He helped her set up a nonprofit in the Tenderloin in San Francisco to help the poor and disadvantaged who lived in the Tenderloin.
Ed's sister is a Sister Mercy nun. He contributes to the friars there. Just a little bit about his faith. Eddie and I started out, we were altar boys together. That's where the foundation comes in. And I'll also tell you this about his mother. Mrs. Watson daily went to Mass, every single day.
Led by faith and a desire to repay the generosity that had enabled Ed to attend Bellarmine, he and Liz created a scholarship in 2018 that provides financial assistance to Bellarmine students who come from single-parent homes.
One year I got to sit next to Ed, and we had a phenomenal conversation. And he said, you know why I wanted to help at Bellarmine financially? I said, why? He says, because when I was a kid, he says, we didn't have a father in our home anymore. And an alum from Bellarmine who lived in Boise, Idaho, paid for his education at Bellarmine. And he says, and I wanted to do that for other kids. And that's what he's done.
Jesus says in the Gospel of Matthew, the most important commandment is this: love your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. Ed Watson's life has been an embodiment of this call to service.
Congratulations, Ed, from all your classmates of 1965 who have supported and nominated you. And also, a big thank you to all the members of the Burlingame Nomination Committee for the Hall of Fame. Ed, you have earned this great and wonderful honor bestowed upon you by Bellarmine. We all love you. May God bless you. And always remember, go Bells.
Please welcome to the Bellarmine Hall of Fame from the class of 1965, Mr. Ed Watson.
First, a disclaimer, this is not an old age game. I had a skiing injury earlier this year. Slowly recovering. But I am hanging up my skis. 9 months recuperation is more than I can handle anymore. Let me first thank the Bellarmine alumni for this honor. I really appreciate it. I still do feel like, after seeing the other gentlemen awards, I'm not sure I belong up here, but I'll go with it. Thank you. I don't know, is Frank Tialdi here today? Yes, sir. There you are. Okay. I want to thank Frank. I want to thank Frank and Rich and Bob Long and all the rest of the guys who nominated me. I really appreciate it. You guys have been wonderful friends over the year. Sorry that Jerry Wade was not able to make it tonight. I talked to him on the phone yesterday. And, our wishes go out to him. Our prayers for recovery from all of his recent illnesses, falls, etc. Mike talked about his illustrious athletic career at Bellarmine. Well, I think I can top that. I did play football for 3 years. I was the last guy to get cut, at least in my own head, from the freshman basketball team. I was the last guy to get cut from the freshman and JV baseball team. Never played, but I did get to play for 3 years. In my senior year, I was the last guy to get cut from the varsity football team. Coach John Hanna, who was a legend here at school, came up to me and he said, Ed, I'm sorry I had to cut you, but you got 2 options. One or 2 things you could do. You could either join the taxi squad, which I think, as you know, is that guys get to suit up for practice and don't get to suit up for the game, just in case there's injuries or whatever. Or you can become a team statistician, with a couple of other guys. And I chose the latter. So I want to tell you, this is a very auspicious occasion because this is the first time in the history of the Bellarmine Hall of Fame
that a team statistician has been inducted. In fact, that probably was the best decision I ever made, because it allowed me a tremendous amount of free time. For those who play sports know what I'm talking about. You know, it's 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock every night. Getting home, I was playing JV football, I'd sometimes get home at 8 o'clock at night, taking the train up to Birmingham. I would like to start by telling you, you know, maybe this may sound a little weird, but have you ever been to a funeral? And they always talk about the 3 F's. 3 F's when they eulogize somebody: family, friends, and faith. And that really typifies my life. I want to start by introducing quickly all of my children. Jenny, my oldest, an LMU graduate, and her and a USF graduate. Her husband, Mike, who is an SI graduate, but we still love him. Their daughters, Alyssa and Ashley, 2 little granddaughters. And then we have my son, Tim, who's a graduate in 1991 from here, and then Boston College, and now runs our firm, or I should say his firm. And his wife, April, and their lovely daughter, Shay, who just started freshman year at Castellana. Very excited about that. And then my son, Michael, who in the last couple of years, especially in the last 6 months, has been my constant companion, helping me out through this ordeal following surgery. And he's been great. And the only problem is it's sometimes hard to track him down, because he's recently either in New Zealand or down in the Galapagos Islands, and before that, they recently just got back from Hawaii. So, you know, aside from those little excursions, he's been wonderful. And then my youngest, my daughter Katie, who is also an SI graduate and Fairfield graduate, and her husband Dan, who's a Rock at Gibraltar, and their 2 boys, Jonah and Ben. Maybe we can get them to go to Bellarmine. I don't know. You know, there's a strong SI connection over there with my daughter. Anyway, the friends I've made at Bellarmine have just been unbelievable. You know, they have been, you know, things that have helped me through my life. I'll get to some of those friends in a minute, but my uncle was a Jesuit. And that's why I came to Bellarmine, and that's what he, through Father Keenan, arranged for the scholarship for me to get through the school. My wife, turns out, her uncle was a Jesuit missionary, Father Jack Clifford, who a lot of the older Jesuits will remember. Talking about family, I'm going to talk about my wife and my mother a little later on. But I do want to talk about my friends. Bob Long and another Sarah High School graduate, Bob Grisili, have been my friends for 71 years. They're still to this day my friends. They've been terribly supportive and great friends. The first day on the train, I met a guy named Carol. You think that'd be a girl. No, it's Carol Collins from Redwood City. Carol's here today, and he's been a friend for the last 62 years. Thank him for that friendship. When I went to school, it was the beginning of Vatican II, if you recall, back in the mid-60s, and we were always very ecumenical. There's a lot of my high school, my grammar school, and college friends that went to Sarah High School that are here, Bob and Joe, Robert Cavilla. And just to show you how ecumenical I am, I married into the Clifford family, and 5 of Liz's brothers are SI graduates. It just shows you how welcoming we are. As they mentioned in the video, Our Lady of Angels Parish was very important to us. It was really, from the time I was born, it was something very special. The Capuchin Fathers, that staff have been close friends all these years. And when my father left our family, I think the parish and the help that we got was tremendous support to us and have been all these years, and I'm very close to it. I've done a lot of legal work for the captions, helping them set up various foundations. One of our close friends is a Father Matt Elsoff, and I don't know, did Matt make it today? He was going to come up, and after we read it recently, we know him since he was a deacon in our church, and he was recently designated as the newest auxiliary bishop in Los Angeles, which is very rare for a member of a religious order to become a bishop. So he was hoping to make it up here, and I guess he hasn't come. So, during my life, the two organizations that I have been proudest to be involved with are, number one, Boy Scouts of America. I've been a member from the time I was in grammar school to a junior leader, eventually a scoutmaster, Eagle advisor. It's been a wonderful organization. But the one I'm most proud of is the St. Vincent de Paul Society that I have been on the board or involved with for about 30 years. The interesting thing about St. Vincent de Paul Society, most people don't know, they all think of it in terms of thrift stores and food distribution, kitchen. But St. Vincent de Paul Society, really, the primary goal is for the individual members, their spiritual advancement, their spiritual growth. And we do this, we create that spiritual growth through helping others. And it's been a fabulous experience for the last 30 years, and I hope to continue as long as I can. Now, getting back to the two most important women in my lives, first my mother, and then my wife. My mom raised us from the time I was 10 as a single mom with the help of her brothers, but she instilled in us our faith. When I say us, I mean my sister, who, by the way, is a Sister Mercy, currently in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and my brother, who graduated in '64 from Bellarmine, who is, I think, somewhere hobbling around in Indonesia today, so they both, unfortunately, cannot come today. But that faith has gotten through us some really, really tough times. My poor mother was unfortunately killed in an auto accident when I was a young married man, at age 26. But then I think going on to the other most important woman in my life was my wife, Liz. I remember an old nun somewhere along the way in grammar school saying the most important decision you ever make in your life is who you marry. And that was so true. That was so true. And we were very blessed to be able to celebrate 50 years of marriage just literally 2 weeks before she passed away. So we were very, very pleased. I mean, she got her last wish. That was her last wish to celebrate that anniversary. So with her encouragement and support, and some of you Cliffords know that, Liz could be a little tight with the money. I mean, she was a little frugal. And for her to suggest that we create an endowed scholarship at Bellarmine and designate it for a boy or boys who come from a single parent. Originally, my male chauvinist, I said, well, let's make it for a single mom. And Chris said, well, maybe we ought to be a little more PC and make it for a single parent. So, in this day and age. So we did that, and I think I'm proud to say that next year will be a fully funded endowed scholarship in honor of my mother. So I want to thank I would like to close by thanking so many of you people who came today, people that I wasn't expecting to see, classmates, Mike Brown's wife, Kathy, some other people that really, it's been very humbling to see all of you here to celebrate with me. Thank you.
Congratulations to Ed Watson. How about we have one final round of applause for our newest Bellarmine Hall of Fame inductees. I'd also like to give some quick thank yous to all the folks behind the scenes who helped make this event happen. Thank you to our theater technical director, Greg Carlson, to Alan Filippi and our production team at 51 West Media for the video production, to Bacosa Photography for shooting our event tonight, to Brian Jung on our IT team for setting up our streaming and recording the ceremony. To everyone in our Office of Advancement, there are a lot of hands that go into putting events on like this, so thank you to everybody, especially Connor Salcido helping me out backstage. Thank you to Diane Seidler for handling all the registration. We would not be able to do events nearly as smoothly without such a well-oiled machine up in Advancement, so I'm very appreciative for all of their help. And finally, thank you to our student ambassadors who are here today, assisting with everything. Perhaps we have a few future Hall of Famers in the group. All right, it's now time to move our festivities outdoors onto the Leo J. and Mary G. Lucas quad for a reception. You'll be happy to know that there is no more program after this. You're welcome to socialize, where you know you're looking forward to catching up with friends and family and catching up with the honorees as well. So the bar will be open when you get outside. Beer and wine is complimentary, as well as non-alcoholic beverages. The dinner buffet will be available in just a few minutes, starting at 6:30. There were a few reserved tables out on the lawn for the inductees and their guests. Everything else is open seating, so please help yourself to dinner and stay as long as you like. The campus store over in the Student Life Center, kind of down the hallway toward the gym, down the walkway toward the gym, will be open until about 7:30 if you're interested in getting any Bellarmine swag if you haven't been on campus in a while. And that is it. There are doors on either side of the theater that you may exit outside. Our student ambassadors are here to assist you if necessary. Thank you again to everyone for joining us here tonight. It's been a wonderful evening. Go Bells!